you hear me?
Dylan?
What's going on?
How are you?
Good. Are you like outside the office?
Yeah. Yep. I work out here. Put a workout place out here and an ice bath.
It looks nice
And
there right now.
yeah, it's beautiful right now. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Typically, once it hits June, we're really lucky. It gets really nice.
Yeah, it's been cold this week, but last week it was like 85, 90 every day. Did you guys have any like expansion plans or anything for this year that kind of got screwed up?
You know, this kind of was a rebuilding year anyway for us because we split off the rock business to Rock US. We split off. We're in the process of doing a partnership right now with Sanmar on the Allmade side.
Yeah,
They're
Jared
going to
was
be
telling me about that.
distributing. Yeah, so I mean, we didn't know what to expect. We knew that we had to do better and try new things, and that's essentially what this has allowed us to do. So I like it. It's gotten us back to that entrepreneurial spirit and kind of being able to change things and go quickly and be okay with making some mistakes, but learning from them quickly and fail forward fast. So
yeah,
it's been good.
So you guys are focusing more on like making the Riley stuff, right?
Yeah, that is blown up. So Ryonet is focused on, starting and growing screen printers. Rockus is focused on, expanding and automating screen printers and garment decorators into digital. And then Allmade's focused on, supplying a responsible, sustainable product to the industry.
Yeah.
So each one kind of goes different in this time. And they've all done decent by pivoting somewhat. Like Rock's selling a lot more folding and packing lines and darkroom automation than we've ever sold before. Ryonet's selling a ton of startup stuff and small presses, and better exposure systems. And then Allmade's selling a lot of masks and a decent number of t-shirts too. But.
Yeah. How did you get started with the whole mask thing? Did you just like, I think I heard you talk about it a little bit, that you kind of just like jumped into it real hard, I guess. But
we jumped into it, yeah, as hard as we could, as fast as we can make them.
Yeah. Is that kind of not as big of a thing anymore with making them and getting them to you as fast? You guys have like good stock now?
We have really good stock. We don't need to make any more.
Yeah.
And Sanmar's starting to manufacture them too in Honduras. So for a while, the supply chain in the U.S. was so like just that you couldn't get a mask or a t-shirt, really anything. So it was rough for a little bit.
But was a lot of that because of like the supplies or like actually getting them made?
So there's this large government contract for Fema that Sanmar posted about and Haynes posted about. And so basically they wrapped up probably 80 to 90% of the U.S. manufacturing capacity. It wasn't until like denim factories got going and other factories that didn't typically make a jersey products,
right?
A jersey knit product that, things started to catch up. And then by that time like it was mid-May, and then the lower quality masks from overseas were coming in. So
yeah. What was most of the masks for that were the government thing? Was it just like government employees needing masks, or?
Dude, I don't know. We don't know. I think they're sitting under a mountain somewhere.
Stockpiles.
Yeah. I think it's a like kind of a next case scenario. And
that's crazy that they're stocking up like that.
I've known people like in the medical field, they'll just have 1,000 masks just show up randomly. So like, I think some are being distributed, but I think a lot of them are being stockpiled.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing either way. So.
Yeah. Well, especially because aliens are coming next.
Yeah.
Dude, with everything happening right now, definitely aliens next.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Aliens. Yeah, hopefully not a war. I take the aliens. Yeah. Peaceful aliens, hopefully.
Well, I saw that thing today where they were talking about Yellowstone acting up.
Oh, okay, yeah, big natural disaster. That's right. We haven't had one of those. So yeah, Yellowstone.
So it's Yellowstone and then aliens, and then it's just fucking chaos everywhere after that.
Big earthquakes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard your startup story a bunch of times at like different events and all that stuff. But what were you like in high school and like right after high school? I know you did the band thing, but like, did you go right out of high school to doing band stuff, or?
Yeah, I was going to go to a private college here in Washington State called Walla Walla University out in Walla Walla, Washington. And I signed up the summer of my senior year, started playing music, went on a couple short tours, and then my girlfriend who was going there broke up with me, thank God. And and I was like, it changed my life because I was a private school kid. Like there was 26 people in my graduating class,
Dude, that's crazy.
golf team, basketball, just prep, but kind of a punk prep, but not really a punk, like a pop punk, like a really poppy punk. And so yeah, and I just got with different friends and was working. It was a really depressing. It was definitely the most depressing year of my life. I remember it raining a lot, and
well, it got you where you needed to be.
Yeah, writing a lot of sad songs, but yeah, then like music kind of picked up from there, and we started touring more. And then t-shirts were always kind of a behind the scenes in music. They just happened. We just printed really shitty shirts, and then I think in 2000, 2 years after I graduated from high school, we started selling on eBay. I started selling some kits on how to screen print.
Now with the kits thing, did you just like figure that out? You're like, I think people will want to buy these, or
have you read the book How to Print Shirts for Fun and Profit?
No.
Back in the day. So it was.
I know that book exists, but I'm not a big reader, so.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I like looking at pictures. I found out how to build a press out of wood, just butchered it, and then didn't know what off contact was, didn't know what registration was, but we made like a 1-color press and then a 2-color press, and it was the worst piece of junk you would ever have seen. It was so bad. I remember like we made this 2-color press and we were selling them for like $500 for a kit, and it was sat on a Lazy Susan. It was two 2x2 pieces of plywood with a Lazy Susan kind of screwed together so it would turn.
So these are all made out of wood?
Oh yeah, had no registration. And I was too cheap to buy hinge clamps because they were like $20 a piece, and I can make my own hinge clamps out of a hinge and like a screw and like some JB Weld, and then like a piece of wood that was kind of like screwed in at an angle, so you kind of like made this rudimentary clamp that would clamp the screen. And I was so pissed because Brandon, who now is the president of Ryonet and my brother-in-law, but he calls me because I can't remember why I was working and I couldn't help him print shirts. He's like, dude, this is the biggest piece of crap POS I've like. We threw your press in the garbage and we are printing shirts on the table right now. And I'm like, screw you guys. Like, don't call that a piece of crap. People are paying good money for that. But it was a giant piece of crap.
What was your star rating on eBay?
Oh, I have no idea, but like I was always just really good communicative, but like,
yeah,
we'd go on tour, we'd get stuck in some godforsaken place and run out of gas, and I'd just like be posting kits on eBay, and then we'd like finally get back, and we've already spent all the money from the kit sales, and so I'd have to go wash windows and pressure wash for like a week to raise the money that I needed to go build the kits. So sometimes it take like a month to get the kit to them. But
it was like really good, is what you're saying.
Well, we had like a 90, like it was good. I think people's expectations were so low back then that they're like, and then it was good. For some reason, it was good.
Do you have any of those, or know anybody who still has one?
We have. There's a Ryonet 10-year box that is now 6 years old, and we're gonna open it up again when we turn 20. And it's up in some rafter up there. It has
one of the original kits in it.
Yeah, actually, it has my high school. My high school had one of these, and that's how I learned how to build it. So it's not mine. It's the one I got from my high school.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you, in the band, were you like the finance marketing guy, or?
Yeah, and it was really bad finance, pretty good marketing and sales.
I don't think any band has good finances. Well, I didn't know if like that's how you got like the idea for doing like the sales online and stuff, because that was kind of like my role in the band, was like marketing and finding shows and everything else, which kind of led me to starting the business, because I already kind of had that for me. So I didn't
Did
know
you
if,
do? Did you guys promote shows too? Did you put on shows?
because we were like a hardcore band, so it's
Hmm.
really hard to like get a regular show at a regular venue. It's always like some
Yeah.
fucking trashy like VFW hall or like somebody's basement or something, or
Oh
some
yeah.
festival in a field or something. So yeah, we always, the cool thing is like we were known for was I I knew some Photoshop, so I would always steal like retro movie posters and I would like put
Nice.
all the, the bands on it and everything. So I feel
Yep.
like we had some of the best like band posters, so a
Yeah.
lot of people ended up liking that. And then we were that band at the show that had like fucking, 10 different merch items. And like, cause we were, printing them quickly after every show just to make money. So we were the band that definitely like had funding and had money to like, we always had like full stacks and like great equipment because we would take all that money and buy equipment.
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of
That's
like where it
awesome.
all started, was just kind of, oh, we can sell stuff. And, and then I got the bug from there and kind of kept going. So,
Man, playing music is the best school for business. It is like you get turned down all the time.
I
You
was going to say
play,
it's the best way to figure out rejection.
yeah, you play for no one or a ton of people. You have like the best night of your life goes to the worst day of your life. You're broke. You have to figure out how to make ends meet. You're fearless. Yeah, you learn how to promote. You learn how to market. You learn how to sell. You know how to talk to people. You learn how to speak. It's awesome. It's the best. Like
Yeah.
my parents were like, God, this our kids going to school. I mean, not going to school. I dropped out of college, but yeah, it was the best education for
Yeah.
sure.
It was definitely like, I don't want to sound like glory days, but it was definitely a great time of like just doing shit with your friends, and stuff happens that isn't supposed to be happening. But I don't know, it was definitely a great time, but I'm glad it ended when it did. Once you finally get out of the band stuff and the band drama goes away and you're like, oh wow, I'm a regular person and I don't have to deal with this band's pissed at you because of this and everything else. So I was definitely
Yep.
glad to get out of that. So you were selling the wood kits. What turned into starting it more of a business?
My dad asked me to go to this internet marketing seminar with him, and I had just started dating my wife, who is the older sister of our guitarist. Uh, and so I was like, I might be able to marry her. Like maybe I really liked her. I was, out with my friends and she called me up and then we started dating pretty seriously. And so, and my dad was like, you should come to this. And I was not doing anything because in the summertime you tour and I wash windows and pressure wash to make money. But in the wintertime I wasn't doing nothing. And so I
Right.
was like, I don't know, Dad, that sounds horrible. Like
Why
to
was he
spit.
going?
My dad was in Amway, which kind of introduced me to just business in general. And
Right.
as a very young kid, like growing up, I always knew I didn't want to just get a job and didn't know what that meant. So but since he left that, he would do all these things. Like he'd like invest in stocks, but not really invest in stocks, like buy the stock program that you see on the infomercial TV. And then it sits on the desk and my mom yells at him. And so he would do all that stuff, like kind of just dabble and everything. So I was like, oh, Dad, it's another one of your get rich quick schemes. Like there's no way I'm not doing it. And I was there at the seminar and listened to them talk about online marketing and things that you could sell. And my dad's like, you could sell your screen printing stuff online. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. So she looks at me, she's like, what's your credit look like? You got any open credit cards? I was like, I think I have like $20 on this one. I have a Guitar Center card and she like immediately like starts looking at my dad. I'm like, hey, I'm the one with the ideas here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and my dad fronted like 10 grand for this e-commerce package, which is like an early version of Shopify. And then he hired me a coach that included a coaching program, which thank goodness, because I wouldn't have done it without like somebody on my ass to like, are you building your website today? I'm like, shoot, okay, yeah. But
Yeah.
once that website turned on, it took about 3 months to build. Once it turned on, I think I figured out sitting there in that seminar that if I did $30,000 a month in sales, I could stop washing windows and really probably have a family, like, and
Yeah.
decent money. And the first month we did $30,000 in sales.
What all
So
were you selling at that point?
we were selling the wood kits. We were selling, we had no distribution ship. No one would, I sent stuff to Union and, all the ink companies, Ulano. I only knew Union and Ulano, I think, and they both said no. So it was just like we'd buy stuff from the local screen print supply store,
And then
Denko
resell it?
Supply, and resell it and then pack it down. Buy it in fives, pack it down. I used to put the chemicals in the Dasani bottle. It was like horrible with inkjet printed labels.
That's super good.
And
Dude, it
then
worked though.
eventually it worked. The first year we did like 250,000 in revenue. It wasn't even a full year, so it was about a half year from June to, and then I started speaking for the online company that was there that sold me this package. They brought me in, our first team member Sean, who still runs our website today, back for some training, and I was like, hey, I'd love to speak for you guys. And so I went on the road with them, and then they were all Mormons who are extremely good business people and don't party. And so they taught me sales and internet marketing for about a year on the road. And I would just sit there and build this website. And we hired people that were from the industry and actually knew how to screen print, and got us distribution with Riley Hopkins, and then CCI, and then International Coatings. Were kind of the first actual industry brands that we picked up.
How did you get people to want to go to your website and stuff back then? Because there wasn't much like social media or anything.
There was no social media.
Yeah.
It was all internet marketing and SEO and pay-per-click. And well, the first thing I should
like
say,
banner ads on everything.
The Mormons were also actually very crafty. There was a pyramid scheme at one point in time that they were all in called 12 Daily Pro. And you sign up and it would just surf the internet and put your website out in ad. You would actually get paid, but you had to put a bunch of money up front. So there's some of them were making like $2,000 a day, and it would just add up. And I got my first payout of like 10 grand. And then the FCC was like, this is a scam. This is a pyramid. They just took everyone's money. I figured out an algorithm it was called Overture back then, which was the early version of Yahoo, and then Google, and it was way easier to market online. You could basically just go and you could figure out stuff, and then if you had a good ROI algorithm, all you had to do is spend money. I always kept our ad budget at 5% of our gross, and we just kept growing. Like we went from 250,000 the first half year to 4 million the second year to 8 million the third year. So awesome. In 2.5 years, we were a decent little company.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, I remember when I first started the first company I did, the merch buttons there, it was like the only advertising I knew to do was to buy those banner ads at the top of like the hardcore websites or like the punk band websites. And it would just like, cycle through like 10 different ads like while you were on the site. And that was all I did at first. And then like MySpace just started and I was like, all right, let's use this. Because MySpace was awesome for the band because it was like you could, message boards went away basically and you could just start, messaging everybody. And so what happened with the business then when that started, like when social started? Was it way easier to get stuff in and not have to spend as much money on like Google and all the other stuff?
Our spend's gone down every year, incrementally for sure, from recurring business, but also better SEO. And we still spend a lot of money, but comparatively to other businesses, I think our ad spend's under 2% of our gross. Yeah, YouTube was the first, and then Facebook, and then Instagram, and now there's TikTok. I don't know TikTok.
Do you guys have TikTok? No,
I don't think we do.
Dude, it's jailbait so hard.
Yeah.
TikTok is nothing but like underage girls dancing. And it's like, I can't be on this. I don't want anything to do with this thing.
Yeah. There's some screen printing videos that like get tons of traction on that thing. I just don't know what the ROI is on, even if you get 3 million views, what happens from that, you know?
I don't know. I want to stay away from it. I like sticking to Instagram, and that's basically it. Facebook, I feel like, is a giant piece of shit now.
Facebook's super negative. Instagram's like how cool I am. Facebook is like, this is what I hate in the world.
Yeah, that's for real though. We don't like get any business from Facebook, and I feel like anybody who messages you on Facebook is just like kicking tires. What were some of the things that, like, you, even now, I guess, that you want to try to sell but you like can't or have a hard time? I mean, now it's probably not as much, but back then, I guess.
Yeah, we were that second tier supplier. Like, I think there's in the industry, there's 3 tiers of suppliers. You have your first tier who's going to sell like the name brand product, you know, and that name brand product is going to be it's going to have the number 1 market share. So if it's ink, it's Rutland or Wilflex. If it's, you know, if it's presses, it's M&R, you know. So it's like, if you're second tier, you're going to sell the runner up to that. So that could be One Stroke, or, you know, International Coatings, or Matsui, you know, or on presses, it might be Workhorse or MHM, you know, or Rock, you know. And then if you're third tier, you're going to sell just whatever you can get your hands on.
Selling shit in Dasani bottles.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, I don't want to call people out, but there's some pretty weird, like, I always get hit up at shows still, like, would you like to sell my chemicals? I was like, we get them really good price. I'm like, yeah, it's not about price. I just, don't want anyone to die. So
yeah, somebody's skin to fall off.
Yeah. So yeah, we were lucky because we grew very fast to hit that second tier really quickly. And then we've slowly worked our way into a first tier position, but sell way differently than the other big guys like Nadstar or Midwest. So,
well, it's definitely like the thing that you got going for you, and I kind of always give you credit for that. Is just kind of like bringing up the industry as far as like with the internet and the education and making trade shows not boring as shit.
So when was your first trade show? What year was that?
I want to say probably 2008. I went to Atlanta.
Okay. Atlanta, SGIA.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was called, but it was super lame.
I missed my twins' first ultrasound for that trade show.
Yeah.
My wife called me. She's like, they didn't hear a heartbeat. I was like, oh man. And she's like, they heard 2. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
But were you really?
Yeah, it was. But no, dude, you should have seen trade shows in 2004 when we started. It was, and like coming off a Warped Tour and then going to a trade show, I was like, what the F did I do? This is a bad decision.
How was that road been? Like, obviously it gets more and more every year, but what was it like back then? Is it like a big buy-in and hard to get people to pay attention?
No, man, it was awesome. I mean, this industry, so if you look at the history of the industry, you know, and the old guys are still talking about like the glory days and like, you know, back when, you know, but it was an awesome industry. Like, you had, like, it was all started in America. It was built like there used to be shops with hundreds, like thousands of people in them. And it was just rock and roll shirts and like booze and probably drugs and crazy trade shows and cash flying around. I heard Don Newman always had the best parties. If you ever talk to Don Newman, that makes total sense. And so it was, and then in the 90s, the first thing that happened was the t-shirt guys went away. So all the t-shirts got outsourced, you know, and stopped being made in the US. And then the second thing that happened was all the jobs went away into the mid to the late 90s. So by the early 2000, after that 2001 and that recession that happened after 9/11, it was a pretty negative place. And if you were new starting up, no one wanted to help you. They're all like, they took our jobs, you know, South Park, you know, and so it was like, I hated it. I effing hated it. And I hated the industry for 5 years. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Right.
But I loved growing $8 million of revenue in 2.5 years. And speaking and making videos and marketing different. And I love that side of it. And it wasn't until 2010, about midway through that recession, that I think somebody offered to buy my business for like several millions and millions of dollars. And I was like, should we sell? And then I looked at like shops like yourself and Printed Threads, Barrel Maker, and like these were shops like that just had come up like over the past few years. And I was like, wait a minute, these are like my guys that I used to hang out with in bands. Like, this is rad. Like, this is a rad industry. And it's just gotten cooler every year, you know? And I think, and it's back to that, like, really music driven, artistic, like entrepreneurial. And that's the meat of the industry now. And that's freaking rad. And there's no other industry like it. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. I think I started at like the perfect time, like 2009, just coming into it. And I don't know. I feel like the timing with social media and like starting and, you know, coming out of a band, I feel like it's been nothing but nonstop for me since I started. Like there hasn't really been a lull or anything. So like you said, like now I feel like so many shops are like so close together and we all hang out and we all talk and we all just like to party and, you know, talk shit to each other. So, that's pretty awesome right now. I feel like it's a really good time to be in this industry for sure. Well, do you feel like trade shows are still growing or are they kind of fizzling out a little bit? Like obviously the closest one to us is Atlantic City, which is always kind of like a shithole anyway. But I feel like the show was pretty good. Like when we first started going like 5-6 years ago. And then I think I say shithole because like when you go to that show in Atlantic City, like Atlantic City is basically shut down.
Yeah.
But the show used to be, I feel like, bigger. And I feel like every year it's just gotten like smaller and smaller. And like, I don't know, last year just seemed kind of sad. Do you feel like that's across the board? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of.
There needs to be, and I love the trade show organizations. They treat us really well, but there needs to be like 3 shows a year, maybe 4. And there's over 40. So like,
dude, that's crazy.
It's ridiculous for how big the industry is. It's under $1 billion industry. And there's 40 shows that you could go to. It's, you know, it's
how many of those do you guys do?
I think our most we've done is almost half, because those like that 40, they include like the embroidery shows and like the PPAI, like the promo shows, but it's all kind of in the same industry. The screen print supplier can get business at any one of those shows, but we are the smallest. If you look at a shirt or anything that you sell, what you buy from your screen print supplier is the smallest percentage of the entire pie. Like maybe screen print, and I'd probably loop in embroidery too, because so what you buy from your screen print and your embroidery supplier is the smallest percentage. I mean, it's 10 cents a shirt that we get, you know.
Yeah, ink wise.
Ink and when you look at your presses that you bought, like, and then divide them by how many shirts, it's a big one-time purchase, but you're going to print 8 million shirts on a press, you know? So it's a penny or 2 pennies or 3 pennies. It's nothing. So it's very competitive at those shows, and there's a lot of them, and you're kind of pressured into going to them. So I think that this COVID thing's a reset. It's a reset, and I think that reset needed to happen. So hopefully some of them will merge or do something. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, like for us, we like going to Long Beach just because it's way different than New York. You know, it's just going to California for a week. But it would be nice if there was a version of that on the East Coast.
I think having a Printing United on the East Coast in a warm climate time of year, and having Long Beach in the winter, you could have 2 shows to both sides of the country, and you could do well.
Yeah, I feel like all the events I want to go to, like ThreadX and all those other stuff, they're like, oh, let's do it in Arizona, let's do this in California, it's like, dude, that's so far from me. Like, do some shit over here, please. Like, what is it? Print United is going to be in Georgia, in Atlanta? in October or
Yeah.
something?
Yep. Back in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I'll be at that. Are you guys trying to do more stuff towards the East Coast, like with Ryonet?
Yeah, we definitely want to have. Right now we're consolidating. We have an Atlanta, Georgia location. We had Washington, then we moved to Washington and Arkansas, and then we had Washington, Arkansas, and California. And we shut our California branch down because it was just so hard. There's 30 suppliers in that city, and everyone makes stuff and sells it. So there's really not room for distributors. And then we shut our Arkansas facility down. So at one point in time, we were only working with 3PL warehouses, which was a really dumb move because screen print products don't have barcodes on them naturally. Mm-hmm. And so we've been undoing that. And so we're moving to Waco, Texas right now. And this week actually. And then we want to open up our own place up in the Northeast somewhere, Pennsylvania or probably Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania would be better than New York as far as taxes and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest part about being in New York is we're just paying for everything for the city.
Yeah, I like Pennsylvania a lot. It's a big state. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's not bad. Maybe if you had one in like Scranton area or something like that. What made you, I guess, want to start with YouTube? Like you just wanted to do education and then you kind of found out, oh shit, this is like a huge deal.
It was an accident. We made DVDs out of the gate because it was like so hard to explain how to screen print to people. Yeah. So we make really bad DVDs. But somebody put one of these DVDs on the internet and I saw all this traffic coming from this website, YouTube. I'm like, what's this? And
so people were like putting clips of it on YouTube?
Yeah, and linking to our website. And I was like, this is sweet. This is cool. Free, like people were ordering off of YouTube. And it's like right when it first came out. So I had just invested in, it did really well. We didn't have a lot of overhead. So I like invested in a bunch of things. I started a t-shirt business and invested in some movies with my friend growing up. And they flopped. It's the worst investment you should ever do is movies. But the producer was like, man, I really don't want to work at Circuit City. I mean, I don't want to go to work at Best Buy again. Can you what if I made videos for you and we put them on YouTube? I was like, that sounds like a great idea. So we did that and it was awesome. You know, the first one, and I didn't really know it was happening at that time, but it was pretty cool.
Those sweet what were they, button-up shirts with your embroidered old logo on them and stuff in those early videos?
Yeah, so you'll notice when I started to actually like screen printing is when I started wearing t-shirts.
Yeah.
No, before that, I didn't like screen printing. I want to be a businessman.
You guys definitely have like the market on the YouTube stuff. If you're just learning about screen printing, say you know nothing about screen printing at all, and you're like, oh, I want to learn how to screen print. It seems like a cool thing. The first thing you're going to do is go, oh, I wonder what's at screenprinting.com. And it's like automatically comes to you, which is ridiculous. That's something I want to get into is like how do you ended up with that? Because I remember you said once that it was just like you ended up buying it and it wasn't cheap. But and then the YouTube thing too with all the education. It's kind of like it's really hard to beat, basically, like getting somebody fresh that's trying to learn. Like they go to screenprinting.com or they just type in screen printing and it's like one of the first things that comes up, and then just going on YouTube and the education. And I always ask people too in the podcast or just like talking in general with people is like, where did you learn to screen print? And the two things that always come up are you and Cat Spit.
Yep. Cat Spit. I remember Cat Spit coming up to me at a show and being like, I'm gonna beat you on YouTube. I was like, cool, man. That's awesome.
Beat you at hairstyles, maybe.
Yeah. And we actually had like a little partnership for a while, but it didn't work out. And yeah, he did. He totally did. And that's cool. But it is different now. It's so different. YouTube is so different. Like,
how's it different right now?
It's just so much more crowded. They're really changing their algorithms a lot, but you can still find stuff that you're looking for. You just don't have, and the people that want to see, there's so many people making screen printing videos, which is awesome. A lot of them use our stuff, which is awesome. But it's cool. It's a cool shareable platform. Yeah, screenprinting.com I always wanted that domain. I remember looking at it like in 2008, I think.
Because it was what before? It was like silkscreenprinting.com
Oh,
or
it's
something?
worse. Silkscreeningsupplies.com. Actually, the first, I get home from this internet seminar with my dad.
I remember going to that.
And I go in, and the first thing you had to do is go buy a website domain. So I'm like, I Googled screen printing. Or not Googled, I Yahooed it. Or whatever it was back then. Ask Jeeves, maybe. And Ryan Screen Supply came up. I was like, Ryan Screen Supply? Ryan Screen Supply was the number one. They were all over the first page. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Ryan, I almost gave up. Like, I was like, this isn't going to work out, Dad. But I can't, the silkscreeningsupplies.com, silk screening supplies, we'd always have to spell it. And no one used the term silk screening. And so we always wanted to change it. And then I think that they started out at like $200,000, and we got it for under, I think we got it for under six figures. I can't remember the exact price. But we waited on it for a year or two, and I think bought it in 2010.
So who owned it before?
Some very smart person that bought a lot of domain names up.
Oh, that one of those guys.
Yeah.
So he held out and made out very well then.
Oh, there's still people that do that,
Come up with a good idea and then buy the domain.
Allmask.com was for sale for 10 grand. And somebody didn't buy it, but they're leasing it, and selling masks on it. So it's like, it's not whenever I'm starting up with a new brand or coming up with a new, like a trademark, a slogan or something like that, I always look for the .com. I look at the hashtag, and I look at the trademarkia to see who's using that term. And if those three things are open, if you can get the .com, you're like, even if you have to buy it at a premium, you're pretty gold. Like, you pretty much know that that's a pretty unique name. Because so many of them are taken.
Yeah. Well, I think screenprinting.com was definitely a good move.
Agreed. Except when screen printing dies.
Yeah. Digitalprinting.com.
Yeah. No, screen printing is always going to be around. I think, and then I don't know what it'll turn into after that, but.
Dude, I know I've noticed over even the past few months that I've been trying to stay up on the whole like digital thing and all that, and I definitely am not a huge fan, but it's once I saw like the hybrid stuff, I was kind of like, oh shit, this definitely makes sense. Like before the hybrid stuff, I was like, no, never getting into it, never gonna bother. And then as soon as I started seeing stuff hybrid, I was like, oh shit, this makes perfect sense. And then they started talking about, how many less screens you would need in the day and mixing inks and all this other stuff. I was like, dang, like that's going to totally make sense in like 5 years. So like we just bought a new press, like we just bought the new gauntlet. And I was like, the only reason why I got that over something else was because, in maybe 5 years, I'll want, a digital squeegee or something like that. But if I don't, then I still just have a big ass press.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's a good move. Kind of future-proof.
I'm trying, but like I said, even over the past couple of months, I've noticed like we're getting so many customers that call or email, and they're like, "Hey, I want to get X amount of shirts, but do you do DTG?" And I'm just like, I always ask them too. I'm like, did somebody tell you to like look for DTG, or did you just Google something, or like, does your print actually need DTG? And 9 times out of 10, I feel like it doesn't need to be DTG. Like we could totally screen print it. They just heard a buzzword of like, this is how it should be done. And then like even today it happened. There was this awesome design somebody had, and it was just like, they sent it to us. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to print this. Like you could get this DTG and it would probably come out really good, but like, I just want to print it because the art's awesome.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's happening more and more now. Like it's just the buzzwords of DTG out there. It's just everybody's like, can you print this way? And it's just like, I don't even know where it's going to be in a year or two.
So what happens to screenprinting.com then? Don't know, but sure, we'll find out and make up another name. We could always just go back to Ryonet.com. We haven't done anything with that for a while. So
do you have that then? Obviously, Ryonet.com.
We don't have fuck Ryonet.com. Always go by the
I'll
FBA
start it. Don't
name.
worry. When this is over, I'll
Yeah.
start it up.
No, literally one of our competitors bought it. I was like, who owns this? And I was like, oh, that's a screen print supply company in Seattle. That's interesting.
They wanted to make it popular. Basically, if
Yeah.
you didn't go to Ryonet, you went to fuckryonet.com and you could get everything you wanted.
Yeah, I guess.
Um,
Everything that you wanted.
I talk quite a bit about like industry knowledge, like people sharing, knowledge about screen printing and everything else. And I'm kind of like an open book when it comes to social media, people DMing and asking print questions. And I by far don't know all the answers, but I want to know kind of like how you felt, obviously, because you do a ton of education, but for you, it's definitely good for business. Like if you're teaching people how to screen print and they're buying, screen printing supplies and starting a shop, like it makes sense for you. But good or bad to a certain extent, sharing, or do you think everybody should just kind of like be open about everything, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the dissemination of knowledge is very good, and education is very good. And I think it's what the world in general needs right now. I think more of it needs to be done in the apparel side of the industry, of how our apparel is made. And my mind in the last 4 years of doing Allmade, my mind has been literally just completely flipped and blown. Like I knew none of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's actually way more complex than screen printing. And so that's been, I think that there's more education in more different sectors. And I think the more educated you are, you use screen printing, for instance, you make people better screen printers, it up levels the whole industry.
Yeah.
When beer stopped being crappy and started to become really good, and all the microbrewers shared and learned from each other, it up leveled the entire industry,
Yeah.
And so that's cool. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen with t-shirts. That's what needs to happen with other types of apparel, because when that happens, things get better because people know why it should be better.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Like the podcast I did with Jared Hennis came out today, and he told me, quite a bit about Allmade and, what you guys were doing. And I mean, even just him talking to me kind of opened me up a little bit on like I know some stuff. I definitely don't know a ton of like deep dive on like how everything's made and where everything's coming from, but that's definitely something I would like to like fully learn, where all these products are coming from. Even him, he was talking about like he has schools order from him or whatever, and he's like, they always try to go for the cheapest Gildans or whatever, and he's like, he said he tells them like, oh, these shirts have like pesticides in them. And I'm like, dude, that's ballsy. But he's like, yeah, I'm just, trying to be honest with them, and it's working. So
Yeah, there's a really good book called Fashionopolis. And that dives into the entire, I mean, if you want to know the down and dirty, ugly side of the t-shirt industry, as well as the hopeful side of how it's improving and how people are coming back,
yeah,
that's a great book. But it's agrochem that really screwed up our industry. Big business agrochemical, like it's behind most of it.
what was it that they were doing?
There's another book on cotton. I can't remember the name, but cotton is like, like the history of cotton is so crazy. But if you look at like cotton, and specifically as it pertains to the Western Hemisphere's history, the Caribbean and our countries, it's a dirty, dirty, dirty crop. And it's always been a really dirty, dirty, dirty crop. Started out with slavery, and then transitioned to new slavery, which was the industrial mills, which were horrible working conditions, and then transitioned into when that stopped, like okay, well, we can't get it for just nothing in the field anymore. We have to pay more for it. Now we're going to just get it nothing made, because we're going to industrialize the actual making of the fabric. And then when that stopped in the early 1900s, then it turned into chemical. Like let's figure out how to grow it faster. So a natural cotton plant it will repopulate. It will repopulate itself. It creates seeds. Those seeds will replant themselves, and it will grow again. A GMO will not. It's genetically modified to only seed one time, produce as much cotton, take as much out of the soil as possible, be able to withstand the worst pesticides, herbicides, chemicals possible, and then die. So you're and they're built for each other. So Monsanto builds the seed and they build the chemicals to kill everything else but the seed. Also toxinize the seed and put toxins into the ground and water and soil and people that are spraying them and everything around it. But that's cool because we don't eat cotton, right? You don't eat cotton?
I mean, sometimes.
Well, actually, we all eat cotton because it's the number two feedstock for cattle is cotton. So if you eat beef, you eat cotton. If you eat typical vegetable oil, there's a lot of cottonseed in vegetable oil. So unless you eat strict olive oil and everything or coconut oil, you're probably eating cotton. And that's coming from GMO cotton. It's not too bad in the US because we've industrialized it, but in areas like India, the farmers, so much is manual labor and the crops aren't as big. So there at one point in time, I think one year there was 10,000 farmers, mostly cotton farmers that committed suicide in India because they just couldn't make ends meet. They were so in debt and so financially burdened to these chemical companies that just owned them and barely gave them enough to make it, but did not really make it and drive the price down. But anyway, that's all in that story, and it's sad and fascinating.
What's the alternative? Like, what's the better way to go about it, I guess?
Organic alternative cotton sources, hemp. There's a huge opportunity with hemp, huge. And now that it's legalized, we just got to get it into a shirt faster. We got to figure out how to make it soft, and it's totally possible to do cellulose hemp combined with mechanical hemp and be able to make a soft shirt. And hemp grows everywhere. It doesn't need pesticides, herbicides. I think cotton is an amazing crop, and like there's nothing. Modal is another alternative. Tensil's another alternative that's cleaner. Modal takes 6% of the environmental resources that cotton does, and it produces a softer fiber.
So
stronger, lasts longer.
You could use those materials and produce just as many t-shirts, and I mean obviously anything that needs cotton the same amount with those things, or would it just be like a substitute?
Yeah, but it costs more. A tree, which modal comes from, grows much slower than a cotton plant.
Right.
But it doesn't need any water. It doesn't need pesticides, herbicides, chemicals. But it grows slower, so it costs more. You need more, takes longer. You just pay more. That's like the only thing. You pay more, but when you pay more, you get a better quality product.
Mm-hmm.
And that better quality product lasts longer, fits better, feels better, and does better for the entire supply chain and the planet.
Yeah, I feel like it's really not that much of a sell to tell your customer, like, basically what you're saying. Like, you know, if you're willing, like it's very rare that it's hard to sell a customer on like even upgrading from a Gildan to a Bella or something. That's like basic screen printer. Like, hey, do you want to feel this shirt or do you want to feel this shirt? So, you know, if it can be just a little bit more and say, hey, this shirt, you know, is made of organic stuff. It's, you know, doesn't have this, this, and this. I feel like it's an easy sell. Like, honestly, I feel like we could sell a shitload of it. But yeah, I feel like you said, it's just people need to be educated more on like how everything is made. I honestly don't see it anywhere, like other than Allmade bringing it up. Like, I don't ever see anything online about it.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's the next. So I love education. I love that conversation. So keep it up and expand it outside of, look at your cost of goods sold and educate on that. You know, again, we're talking about the screen printing process and how much knowledge and education goes into that, because that's the tool to make the thing good. But if you look at your cost of goods sold, it's the smallest amount that you spend. Your biggest amount is t-shirts. Your second biggest amount is people. Mm-hmm. So if you educate it on like t-shirts and you educate it on people, you know, how much better would our industry be?
Yeah, no, for sure. What made you want to get into Allmade out of everything? I mean, just starting a t-shirt company in general. Obviously the natural from like going from screen printing to let's make the stuff that we print on, or?
Yeah, the quality, and then honestly, like it started out as just the revenue. It's like, okay, well, if somebody buys 10 cents an ink from us and they buy the shirt for $2, that's, you know,
Yeah, makes sense.
but it's super hard. It's so hard. It's way harder than I ever imagined. And we are extremely fortunate to, I mean, Allmade Apparel almost put Ryonet out of business for sure. And people told me it would. And I was like, yeah.
You got to take those risks though.
You know what you're talking about, and the only thing that really, like, we have a great team. We got a new CFO that really helped us out. We have made partnerships in other parts of the building industry. And then we have very great vendor relationships. So yeah, we made it through, but it was 2018 was like the hardest year. It was, and then into 2019 it was rough. Now we're doing a really cool partnership with Sanmar that I think will allow Allmade to just go to the next level. And it's super exciting because I always wanted Allmade to be owned by like the supply chain, to like have your hand in every single part of it. And that's what Sanmar does. They basically, whether they have a joint venture at the factory or own the factory directly, they're in every single part of the supply chain. And the only difference, and they're super eco-friendly as far as like how they make stuff. What we're bringing to the table is we're just demanding that they make it out of eco-friendly stuff too. So
right.
It's not just made eco-friendly with it. They take care of their people great. They take care of their sewer. Like the happiest sewers I've ever seen is in a Sanmar facility in Honduras. Like, but we're choosing better quality materials that have lower environmental impact and last longer. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Now that they're kind of involved with it, are you trying to get more styles and all that as well?
Yep. Yeah, we're working on organic cotton, some different blends. I want to try to. I'm sure we'll end up making more polyester, and it'll be recycled polyester. But I want to try to get away from synthetic and go to natural fiber, and ultimately do something with hemp very quickly. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can be one of the forerunners on that, not a runner-up. And
there's not a ton of. I mean, there are definitely like hemp shirts or whatever, but there's not like a ton of that offered.
No,
I was going to say, I had a customer probably 6-8 months ago or whatever that was asking me for hemp shirts, and I kind of had trouble finding some decent ones to offer.
Yeah, even organic cotton, there's not a lot of good options.
What were some of the like more in your mind or stuck in your mind roadblocks that Ryonet's had up until now, or like issues?
You probably looked at your business and you've seen your plateaus. And when you hit plateaus, like you have to invest in systems, processes, and people, and you have to upscale those. So I think those are the things that kept us from going to the next level. And we hit a plateau at 10 million. We hit another plateau at 20 million. We've been stuck at a 40 to $50 million plateau for the last 5 years. And so it's trying to get to that next. Now we've changed the strategy to do that. We're doing these partnerships and joint ventures in order to do that. And so which is a good thing because you get outside perspective and resources, but also you kind of having to relearn some stuff, which actually is a good thing because it brings back that entrepreneurial vibe. So I think learning how to get past your plateaus and really defining where you want to go in business is the thing that limits. And if you don't have to continue to grow, that's just my goal, because I want to have a bigger impact and I want to provide more jobs and more influence. But people can run a really great $2 million a year business that provides an amazing life for them and their team, and it's not stressful. So
yeah, that's my goal for sure. I want to kind of stay like where I'm at. I feel like I have kind of like my dream setup and dream team as far as staff. I think the only thing I'm going to do is upgrade, add a couple more staff just to smooth some things out. But that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to do cool shit and work 9 to 5 and pay everybody well and have fun and go home. And I don't want to be that. Like me and Jared, I have a couple people I've talked to have talked about this too, but it's always, you talk to those guys that have like, 15 autos or something. And you always ask them like, when was the happiest you were in business? And they're like, oh, we had 2 autos and like 10 employees. And I'm just like, why don't I just stay there? Like, that sounds like a
Yeah.
good place to be. So I don't know.
Yep.
I feel like that's definitely what I want to do. I know that the industry definitely seems to be like kind of divided over like, like team blue and team green and team red. And does that kind of make it difficult for you to, sell to certain people, or do you try to, be across the board, or how do you feel about that whole thing?
I don't like care.
Yeah.
Somebody could be our biggest customer revenue wise, printing green shirts on a blue machine,
Yeah.
and then, and somebody could be buying a lot of machines and not using any of our shirts, and so I remember the times when I used to get so mad or so bummed out when somebody didn't buy a rock. But no, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I think there's reasons why we love rock, and I used to sell them in our presses, and they're good. They're good presses, but it's different. It's like, it's the difference between the different types of cars out there. There's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's too much of that where everybody's hating on each other for certain things. And I know for me, like personally, like I have almost everything's blue in my shop, but I feel like that's just like when I was first starting out in like 2009 and stuff, and it was like the big shops that I looked up to, that's what they had. So I've kind of always had that in my mind of like, that's what I want, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I want to get to, and that's what I want to have. And, but as I've learned, growing with this industry and stuff, is it's just like, there's a lot of shit out there has different benefits, and, you could piece everything together and have a little of everything. But
you've heard of Simon Sinek?
No.
He wrote a book. His most popular book and speech is called Start With Why. But he wrote a book last year called The Infinite Game. And it's the fact that, like, business is not a game. The only way you lose in the game of business is to go out of business. That's how you lose. You don't win ever. You win if you're in business again. So it's the companies that think with an infinite mindset that are really, so if you look at Apple, so I say Apple computer, what tagline comes to mind? For most people would be like, Apple, think different.
Yeah.
But if you look at their campaigns prior to that, like, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, that was a competitive game. Or Big Blue versus, the Macintosh, that was a competitive game. When they challenged thought and they challenged the industry and said, think different, and became in the mindset, we're not just a computer company, we're going to be a enablement company. And then bam, they're at one point the biggest company in the world.
Yeah, things changed. If you could go back in time and do anything sooner, would you do anything?
No, I love the roads that you go on, and I don't like ever regret. No, I think it's just an evolution. It's a process.
Yeah.
So
if you weren't doing Ryonet and none of that ever happened, what do you think you would be doing right now?
Oh man, I think
pressure washing
so much every day. How lucky I am. Like, so lucky that my band started printing shirts, and so lucky that my dad asked me to go to that seminar. And there's so many steps along the way that you could have taken a different turn in life and been like, holy crap, I mean, we were going to quit the band like my junior year in high school because we couldn't find a drummer. And our drummer picked up a Nichols ad that his dad, it was a 2-month-old Nickel ad that his dad threw in the garbage. And because of that ad, like, my entire life changed. And so it's crazy to look back, but I wouldn't change anything. I think you always learn from the past and make better decisions in the future.
Yeah. No, it's weird, like, how a lot of us have that story of like how we got into printing. It was never like we made that decision of like, I want to get into screen printing. It was just like a bunch of little things happened to get you kind of into it and where you are. And it's It's pretty awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
You personally, I guess, like what do you look at and find for like inspiration for stuff that you like to do on, I guess, social media and all that kind of stuff?
Thought leaders right now, most of the thought leaders that I love Simon Sinek, Jocko Willink. He wrote the book Extreme Ownership. He's a badass. A lot of military guys. David Goggins.
Do you like to actually like read the books, or do you do like audio versions?
I audio for sure.
I audio
I
everything that I can. I cannot read to save my life.
Can't read. I've read one book. I read The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit for a year to put my twins to bed from their 4th to 5th year of life, and that's the only book I've actually read from start to finish.
I always get like 2 paragraphs in, and then I start to like think about things, and then I realize that I just read like 2 pages, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea what just happened. Like, I start over.
Have you ever heard of the book Faster Than Normal?
No.
Dude, read that book. It's awesome.
Is there an audio version? You keep saying read.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen to that book.
Listen to that book.
It talks about harnessing the power of the ADHD mind, and it's fantastic. Whether you have ADHD or not, most entrepreneurs and a lot of screenprinters do have ADHD, so it's an amazing book.
Yeah, I just can't get my mind to shut off. Like that's my hardest part. And I'm not great with like nutrition, but like I also am not good at like sleep. Like my buddy Andy, who has Shirt Kong, like he always busts my ass about this, but like he's that guy who's like in bed at like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, dude, I can't go to bed until my body's like shuts off. Like I go to bed almost every night at like 1 to 1:30, and I wake up at 7 to like get ready to go to work. And it's like, it's definitely not good for me, but like, I just can't shut my mind off. Like I can't stop thinking about things or like looking things up or doing things. So it's definitely like something I need to work on now that I'm getting, older. So
I think exercise helps that a lot. It gives your mind like superpower for a shorter period of time, but then also gives you something else to put your effort into. So like David Goggins, who I look at, like, and I think he exercises like 6 hours. It's ridiculous. 6 hours a day, but
that's crazy.
And I got into exercise because of screen printing. I was athletic in high school, but I was in a band, and somebody had a trade show, a Long Beach trade show, I think in 2009, the year my kids were born, hands me a running shirt. And I was like, thanks, but no thanks, because running's stupid. And, who wants to go running, and I started exercising that year, just 1 mile. I read listened to a Tony Robbins book. He's like, just 1 mile a day. Just try 1 mile a day. Say what you're grateful for in the morning. Do a mile walk or run, and it will change your life. And it totally, totally did. That's 11 years, 12 years.
What made you, and I guess what are the benefits of that ice bath I see you doing every other day?
Oh, man, that's awesome. I thought that was crazy too, but I've never been able to shut my mind off, like to meditate ever in life. And that gives you, it takes you to a totally different place. It heals your body and gives you a ton of energy. So it's crazy. It helps you lose weight, takes off all your white fat cells, turns them into brown fat cells.
What does it do then? Like what does your body do when it gets like super cold, super fast like that?
You have to go into a different mental state to be able to, otherwise you freak out. And to do that, you have to breathe. And to breathe, it makes your mind, you meditate, and it's insane. It's awesome.
It sounds terrifying.
I have a really low conversion rate. If ice bathing was a religion, I would not be a good salesperson.
Not a good cult leader.
Yeah, I've gotten two or three people that actually go enough they'll buy a freezer. A couple people have bought a freezer. And
is that how you do it at home? Is with a freezer?
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So you don't actually like ever put ice in it anymore, right? It's just at a temperature you want it to be at.
No, at work I freeze like every day I freeze at like 8 gallons of ink, 8 ink gallons full of water. And then in the morning, I just dump all those 8 gallons, like huge chunks of ice in the ice bath here.
Yeah.
until I'm going to get a freezer here eventually, but right now.
You're just that dude at work that has a freezer out back that he likes to dip in every so often.
Yeah. Always come back and they're like, I'm like, yeah, this is weird.
Get in there in like a nice Speedo or something.
Yeah, his boxes. Wim Hof though. Wim Hof is the man. He's a good story. A book, What Doesn't Kill You, is a really good book.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I appreciate you doing this with me.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good conversation. Good to catch up, and keep up the good work. Keep up the good posts.
Thanks.